Inspire, connect, and enable the ecosystem of entrepreneurs. Welcome to Hubcast by Impact Hub Lagos, a podcast for the Nigerian innovator, changemaker, and entrepreneur. In each episode, we will bring to you exciting and inspiring content where we will share knowledge, insights, opportunities, and real innovative stories from the Impact Hub Lagos community. As the bloodline of our economies, entrepreneurs need to be supported and given every opportunity and resource to succeed. It is our mission to empower you from intention to impact. This week, we have a special guest joining us, Ms. Tolulope Babajide. She's a development professional with expertise in fundraising, resource mobilization, multi-sector partnerships, and government relations. She currently serves as the Innovations and Partnerships Advisor on the World Bank Nigeria for Women project. In this episode, we discuss the important hallmarks and ways in which entrepreneurs and startups can build collaborative systems for sustainable growth, the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on collaboration, and the role technology has played in this. Keep listening to learn all about this and hear her advice on how you can build successful partnerships.
Hello everyone, my name is Adeze, Communications Lead at Impact Hub Lagos. Welcome to the third episode of Hubcast by Impact Hub. Today I have with me my very good friend Tolulope Babajide. She's an Innovations and Partnerships Specialist. Hi Tolu, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you Adeze for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited. So today we're going to be talking about building collaborative systems for sustainable growth, something that is your forte and you're really knowledgeable about, which is why I'm so excited to have you here. But first, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you've been doing over the last decade.
Okay, thank you, Adeze. Thank you. I'm so excited to be on the Impact Hub podcast today, and thank you, Adeze, for inviting me. And so I would say for my career, I've had an interesting or rather long-suffering career, one that has spanned 14 years. I studied English and Literary Studies at the University of Ado-Ekiti, now Ekiti State University. After graduation, I was fortunate to get my first job in the advertising industry as a rookie copywriter, which I really enjoyed because it taught me how to turn my ideas into words, and almost immediately I could see the words being turned into what brands were using. But I moved on quickly from advertising into journalism. Journalism gave me the opportunity to see that through writing, I could be everything that I wanted to be. And also that writing is an instrument, is a weapon that one can use to change the world. And for me, it also really opened me up to development. So it was journalism that opened me up to development. My first brush with development ever, that was 2013, was when I went to cover a UN Women event, and that was on female genital mutilation. And working in this sector made me realize I'm intensely aware of the social inequalities that we have in Nigeria, not just in Nigeria, but everywhere. And why it is very important for everyone to do their bit, everyone changing their narrative in their own space. So I started with being a programs officer, but along the way I was more fascinated and more drawn in to the business side of development, which was about establishing strong partnerships for sustainable development in Nigeria. Because I realized early in my development career that if we don't have strong partnerships to bring about, like for example, funding, technical expertise, technology transfer, if we don't have all of that, then development will not be achievable in communities, in cities. So that drew me into the partnership side. And international partnerships will not just bring about funding, but also more importantly, shared value which has been lacking for a long time. So far, I've really had the opportunity of building effective partnerships, collaborations across different sectors, and it has been rewarding. As in, I've really had a good time, and I'm still looking forward to having a good time. These days, I have my hands in various things, and I'm so excited about it, because at the end of the day, I'm all about creating impact in the lives of the people that I know, in the lives of the people that I serve, everywhere that I go. So my career is really hinged on making impact, not just because impact has become a cliche, because it is actually really important to me.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, Tolu. I really enjoyed listening to that. You're clearly very hopeful about the future, which is one of the things I love about you. But you did mention that there's a lot of social inequalities, not just in Nigeria, but across the world. As someone who is passionate about sustainable impact, what are some of the most important hallmarks that you have defined that we should look out for when we're talking about sustainable growth or sustainable impact?
Okay, so I think most importantly, it's about always bringing development back to the people, bringing development to the people that really need it. Most of the times, what are these social inequalities? We see them in education, in healthcare. For example, when this COVID-19 pandemic started, it really showed us that the public healthcare, which was meant to be sustainable in the first place, wasn't at all. We saw public healthcare across the world crumble just because of this pandemic. So it's important for us to focus on the major and not really focus on the minor. So what are the major? These are the strong infrastructural systems in the country, in the communities, like healthcare, like education, like women's rights, gender. So those are the hallmarks of sustainable development for me, because if we have a good healthcare, that means that there will be a reduced maternal mortality rate, there will be a reduced death rate, the rate of communicable, not communicable disease will be reduced. So everything is interconnected. And I want to draw you back a little bit. Every sustainable development goal is interconnected. Nothing happens without the other. So if we have a good education system that is inclusive, more girls will go to school. And if more girls go to school, that means that we have reduced child marriage. More, females that are not old enough to get married, they will be in school. So everything is interconnected. And for us to solve one, we have to solve another. So everything is all interconnected.
We're looking at development issues. That's so important. It's really key that when we're looking at issues of development and sustainable growth, that we have holistic approaches, right? And I'm really glad that you mentioned that everything is interconnected. So at Impact Hub, one of our core values is collaboration, and we aim to foster collaboration and partnerships for ventures in our network. Why do you think collaboration is so important, especially when it comes to innovation and entrepreneurship?
Okay, so for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to define quickly innovation as the successful commercialization of novel ideas, including products, services, processes, which is very important to the economic growth in Nigeria. So everything I'm going to be saying today is going to be in relation to Nigeria. And so for Nigeria to leave that current status of green tag developing country, there has to be an onward movement of innovations that is proportionate to the growing population. So what do I mean by this? I mean, now we have that continual mass evangelism of gospel of innovation and entrepreneurship, which I'm sure that Impact Hub is part of. Everywhere you turn to now is we'll talk about, innovations. We have social innovators coming up every day, solving different diverse issues. And one of the things that can help these innovators to thrive is when we have a lot of support. And that support is where the partnerships comes in. It is important for social innovators that are solving diverse issues across Nigeria to have the support of the government, to have an enabling environment by the government. The government has to be there to support them with everything that they need. In developed countries, there's a research and development grant that is made available to social innovators. Do we have that in Nigeria? Yes, even I don't think so. But even if we don't have that, what are the other avenues? What are the other platforms that the government can begin to put in place for this social innovators so that they can have it easy while they do what they do? It is also important for social innovators to have funding that is available to them. So no matter how brilliant an idea is, no matter how brilliant an innovation is, if there's no concentrated funding into research, into ideation, into deployment, into scalability, then it won't get anywhere, no matter how brilliant it is. So let's take, for example, Facebook. If Facebook didn't get that required funding that it needed at that initial time, it will not have scaled up to where it is right now. So most of the time, the challenge, so to say, is not that we don't have social innovators in Nigeria. Every day, someone somewhere in Nigeria is innovating. But what is the level of scalability? They're just innovating in their small community. But because they don't have adequate funding, they can't scale. They can't even scale to the next community, talk less of the next state, talk less of the next country. So it's important that funding is available to them. So how do we make this possible? By opening them up to various opportunities and, by drawing together this network of social innovators and connecting them to the next available funder, impact investor, private equity, whatever kind of funding that they can get. And it's also important that another kind of partnership that I will also consider is that the social innovators too should be able to partner with the community of use. So most social innovators, the issue that they usually have is that they sit somewhere in Lagos State and they begin to design innovations. And maybe they are designing innovations for someone in Malaysia, or they are designing innovation for someone in Abia State. They don't go to the community and even understand what sort of challenge and what the solution even looks like to these people. So most of the time they do guesswork. So that partnership also needs to come into play between the social innovators and the community. And I'm a huge advocate of human-centered design. I believe that you cannot understand the problem more than the people that are experiencing the problem. It is very important to always know that. Most social innovators have a savior's mentality. Oh, I'm going to Abia State to solve the problem of erosion. But have you been to Abia to ask them what kind of solution do they foresee? So it's very important for social innovators to also go back to the basics. And I think that is also another way that Impact Hub can come in. During all the incubation programs, during all these entrepreneurship programs, it is important for Impact Hub to drill it into the social innovators, the importance of human-centered design. Because at the end of the day, you design a solution, an innovation for the community. And if the community cannot use your innovation, then it's better that you didn't even make it. You didn't even design the innovation at all.
Thank you, Tolu. I really agree with that. It's very important that when you are coming up with solutions to issues that people are facing, you keep them front and center, right? It's not really about you or what you're trying to achieve. It's about the people that you're trying to create that impact for and keeping them top of mind. So that's a really important point. And I think when people think about partnerships and collaboration, we don't often think about those stakeholders, right? We think about funders, we think about partners, we think about people that can support us and volunteer, mentor, but we rarely think about the fact that if we are trying to create a solution for a community or a group of people, you are entering into a partnership with them. You are collaborating with them towards the same goal. So I'm really glad that you put a spotlight on that. Okay. So
thank you.
Let's talk about the COVID-19 era. How has the nature of collaboration changed significantly since the rise of the pandemic in Nigeria? So as a partnerships professional for so many years, I'm sure you can tell everything has changed with COVID, right? What are the new things that we are seeing in partnerships or collaboration that are good or bad, and how can entrepreneurs or innovators key into those changes and, make sure that they are working with those changes?
So COVID-19 has thrown everyone into a deep end. Nobody ever saw it coming, and it came, but now it's here, and I don't think it's going to go away very soon. So one of the things that we've also learned to do is to begin to work around it instead of trying to live in denial. And it has affected every aspect, just like you said. It has affected every part of human life, jobs, healthcare system has been shaking. But there's a blessing in this. And the blessing is that it reiterates the importance of shared value. Now, it is more important that people come together, bringing together their diverse values. So there's this phrase from where I come from, I'm from Malaysia, Ocean State. There's this phrase called kajola. Kajola means working together to create wealth. How do we begin to work together to create wealth? Years ago, it was, for example, in Nigeria now, for years, we've depended on the oil. Everything that we did in Nigeria was really centered around the oil, oil, petroleum, generally. And that has put us at a disadvantage now. Clearly, we can see that. And at all, if Nigeria is going to work to bounce back, then it must begin to look at plugging in different aspects of resources. So what are the resources we have? We have agriculture, we have natural resources, we have human resources. How do we begin to plug in everything together and not just to concentrate only on that one commodity that we have right now? We have agriculture, we have human resources. We can begin to put everything down. So bringing it back to even for an innovator, even for a social innovator, it's more important that an innovator is thinking about, okay, maybe for example, let me give an example of maybe as an innovator, what you're doing is designing solutions for a grocery solution that enables women to be able to get groceries at their home. But now more women are staying at home. More women are working from home. So your innovation is not going to thrive like that again in this period. So what are you thinking about? Have you ever thought about working together with another innovator to be able to do something that is beautiful, to be able to come up with something that is well researched, apart from the research part, but also something that is going to thrive at this time, looking at the situation that we are right now? So it's no longer business as usual. That shared value is very important. Everybody working together to make sure that we both deliver on what we need to deliver on and to both create wealth. Because more than ever, it's now becoming quite challenging to be able to be productive the way we were before. And when I mean productive, I mean financially. So even social innovators must begin getting funds. They must be looking at the avenue where they can even work together with other social innovators to be able to attract more funding. That is another aspect that social innovators can look at, and not think that, we have a fantastic idea, we have a fantastic innovation, we just want to apply only. It will be better for them to have a joint, like a consortium of innovations, and they can apply for a particular funding together.
Oh, thank you, Tolu, for sharing that. I think that what you raised about people or innovators coming together is something that's really important. We don't necessarily see a lot of that, but we're starting to see it more and more. But there's power in numbers, and I think that's something that entrepreneurs often forget. So that's something that's really key. So if you could summarize 3 of the most important ways that businesses can foster cross-organizational collaboration, what would they be? Can you just give us 3 points?
Okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind is being transparent. So, a lot of organizations have their standard operating procedures about how they want to do things, how they've been doing things for a long time. But more than ever, it's becoming important for organizations to go beyond themselves so that they can stay afloat. So organizations need to approach other organizations as in to be transparent enough to show them their books, to be transparent enough to tell them, okay, this is what our goals are in the next couple of years. How do we work together to achieve this? How do we work together to achieve this? I don't know whether you were aware of recently, some financial banks have been working together on some agri funding. So that transparency, to be honest enough to be able to show someone the books, or to be honest enough to sort of approach another organization for partnership. That is the fundamental part of a good partner. Another way that businesses can also foster organizational collaboration is by making sure that there is always an enabling environment. So what do I mean by this? Is it not like 4 weeks ago? I don't know whether you were conversant about the Nigeria Economic Summit group that went ahead to, just put out a particular communique about a decision that is made. But like few days afterwards, we saw like almost 5 banks coming together to refute this and having a joint stance against what the National Economic Summit has put up. What that means to us is that it's not just the duty of my bank to do this. It's not just the duty of this so bank to do this. It's everybody. So that ability to create an enabling environment where things can thrive, it's very important. And also, thirdly, it's also important for businesses to be innovative in whatever offerings. Most importantly, now we see a lot of businesses bringing on board, moving into diverse fields, like, for example, UBA is into Red TV, GTB is into Indani TV. That is another way that businesses can stay afloat at this time, pivoting. So it's, those are the 3 major ways that I can think about.
Okay, so you said pivoting is one of the major ways that we can foster organizational collaboration. And a lot of times when businesses are pivoting, they have some kind of technology element. A lot of people are doing a lot of things with digital. What role does technology play in fostering collaboration?
Thanks to technology. The only reason why we could have even survived this period is because of technology. So imagine a world without technology, that we can't even talk. That means that I have to come to African Business Radio. So technology has made it so easier for everyone to communicate. So communication is that first point. Now, so you can be in New York and I can be in one remote area in Abia and we can communicate, which communication is very fundamental. And also technology has made it easy for us to transact businesses without even leaving the shores of our country. And also the technology transfer. So communication has really helped every one of us to stay afloat and to also thrive at this time. So anytime I think about collaboration, I don't think collaboration can be without technology. They are kind of synonymous with one another. And technology with solution, it makes us communicate better and easier and faster. It makes us transact at any time, anywhere, and also it's even the knowledge transfer. So for me, you can get everything with technology these days.
Yeah, that's true. And I think even with the COVID era, one thing that a lot of smaller businesses were saying was that even though, there were a lot of struggles with COVID in terms of things like the specific parts of partnership that has to do with mentoring and accessing people were more available than ever because you said, you didn't have to travel or you don't have to fly somewhere. You can send someone an email, set up a Zoom call with them, things that were not necessarily done before. And it's giving a lot of people access to individuals or experts that they need, right? And so that's something that's been really cool and only possible through technology.
The only thing that we need to
go ahead.
The only thing that we just need to do is that we the dwellers, and I would say the urban dwellers, we are fortunate enough that most times we even take it for granted. But people in the rural areas are still left behind because there are still so many places in Nigeria that have only 2G network, so they can't even go on the internet. So it's just important for us to begin to strongly advocate that there is more use of technology, is widespread than it is presently. That is what we need to do, to spread that gospel of technology, to make sure that even technology is not seen as a big deal, even to people that are living in remote areas. But for many people, they think technology is about coding, technology is about writing, programming, Java and every other thing like that. But technology is really about, making our lives easier. You can just start 737 hash, the technological process. So people just need to really understand so that more people in Nigeria can have access and they can begin to use technology to better their lives.
So we've spoken about some of the great things about collaboration and how to build collaboration between organizations or ventures. what are some of the barriers that you've seen there are to collaboration, and how do ventures overcome these barriers?
So, keep bringing it down to the issue of trust. So, lack of trust is one of the fundamental reasons why people don't go into partnerships, because they feel that once I tell you what my trade secret is, then you're going to know what my books are. So people are scared. People are suspicious of, like, organizations are suspicious of one another, and that is understandable. But if there is any significant growth that is going to happen in Nigeria, then people must begin to have a certain level of trust. And this trust can be also be guided by legally. So if you are still scared of really opening up to another organization, so that is where lawyers comes in, and that's where lawyers comes in. So that level of trust, people don't trust one another. And also different goals. That is, organizations have different goals. So that is another reasons why partnerships too can be hindered. So for example, company A has the goal of getting to the moon by year 2030. Company B has the goal of getting to Mars by 2030. Yes, they want to get out of space. That is, I think for me, that is the only thing that they have in common. But their destinations are clearly different. One is going to the moon, one is going to the Mars. So partnership is a no. It's not going to work. So you have to have common goals. So one of the barriers is different goals,
so no
which
synergy.
is okay. But for a partnership, yes, for partnership to actually work, the goals has to be aligned. And also, most importantly, another barrier that I see that affects partnerships is when there is no clear-cut definition of roles. So what do I mean by this? Like, for example, I'm a special innovator and I'm into producing reusable sanitary towels, and you are another innovator that is really about using technology to bring information to young girls. And one of the areas you're working on is on reproductive health. You know, teaching the young girls how to be hygienic during their menstrual period, what to do, menstrual hygiene, and so forth and so on. When you look at these two innovations that I've talked about, they have aligned goals because both of them sort of address the same issue, which is menstrual hygiene. But for them to work together, so innovator A must know that this is my strength is in, producing reusable sanitary pads. And this is what I need to do at this particular time. At this particular time, I have to release the money. I have to release the product to get to this girl. The innovator B must know that I am in charge of deploying the innovation, the technology that will enable these girls to have easy access to information on whatever platform. So it's important that each person knows their role very well, is well defined, and there must not be any gray area at all, because that is also another issue where another challenge at partnerships usually when there are gray areas. I assume this is going to happen at this time. She assumes that this is going to happen. That is the beginning of a disaster in a partnership. So it's important that there are clear-cut roles, and whosoever is going to be in charge of these roles must also have an understanding of this.
Okay, thank you for that, Tolu. I'm on my last question for you today, and I just want to ask you, so if you are an organization, a startup, a venture, and you want to start looking for partners, you're trying to reach out to people, what is the first step that you should take?
So for me, presently, I wear two caps. I am the Innovations and Partnerships Advisor on the World Bank Nigeria for Women project. At the same time, I'm a Director of Partnerships and Business Growth at Harvest. Harvest is a financial inclusion platform for women. And one of the things that we have done at Harvest is to be clear about what we are offering.
Okay.
It's important for that to be real too. I know a lot of innovators think that they know what their offering is. My offering has to be smart. My innovation has to be smart, specific, measurable. It has to have clear-cut goals. And I think that some innovators in Nigeria get it wrong from this very elementary stage. So for me, if I were to be an innovator, the first thing I have to do is to be sure about what sort of solution I want to bring on board. And also, aside that, I also want to know that my innovation is going to be accepted by the people that I'm deploying this innovation for. So, you can say, it's not possible for you. Yes, it's possible for you to design a solution that people don't need. You think that they need it, and that is where also assumption comes in. And that is where human-centered design also comes in. You cannot assume that a community needs this when they don't need it. In the course of the work that I do on the World Bank project, I've realized that there are lots of women that are in agriculture in places like Kebbi. And, you go to them and you ask them about, you need this innovation to do this, produce your millet, to produce your sorghum. And they don't understand what you're saying. They don't see the need of you bringing an innovation that will help them. So at that stage, what you need to do is to sit down with them, to make them understand what solution also looks like to them. Then you can go back and design something that is commercial. Because there's no point designing a solution that is not going to be commercially successful. It is important for every innovator to always go back to the basics. That's so you can have a truly homegrown solution. And also, lastly, when it comes to funding, because I think that is another issue that innovators have, funding. Don't look at one stream of funding. So you can be writing grants. Grant. Grant is good because it's free money, so to say. And it gives you the opportunity to be able to grow a lot of structures around your business. But more and more, grants is becoming very challenging for people to get access to grants. Why don't you open up yourself to private equity? Why don't you open yourself to angel investors? Why don't you open yourself to impact investors? Why don't you open yourself to fee for service? There are diverse means of funding. Every innovator just have to sit down and decide on which one fits that particular innovation.
Oh, thank you so much, Tolu. This has really been amazing. You dropped so many gems, and I'm sure that everyone listening is going to learn a lot from you. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate
Thank you, Adeze.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Impact Hub. Can I have my last word?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
One of the reasons why I decided to take on this podcast is because I understand the importance of having a community. Community makes it easier for people to scale. Community makes it easier for people to, funding. And that sort of community is what Impact Hub has right now. That community of entrepreneurs, that community of social entrepreneurs. And that is where partnerships also even come in. Imagine you are trying to work alone. You can work as maybe a little bit and you will get tired. Yeah. But imagine working together with a lot of people. It gets better. You don't even you feel like you're jogging, even though you walked maybe 5 miles or 6 miles and you've been working for quite a while. But it makes it easier, it's bearable because it's not easy. The work of a social innovator or an entrepreneur, it's not an easy journey. It's a journey that is filled with tears. It's a journey that is filled with frustrations. It's a journey that is filled with ups and downs. So you need that community. You need that network of people, of entrepreneurs, of innovators that care about you. And that is why the work that you do at Impact Hub is so valid. It's so important. And I'm so grateful to see Impact Hub doing everything that you're doing, from the incubation to the ideation, everything. I'm just so grateful. Thank you for doing what you do for social innovators.
Thank you, Tolu. That means a lot coming from you. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone for listening.
You're welcome.
Again, my name is Adeze Nwadike, Communications Lead at Impact Hub, and we have been speaking to Tolulope Babajide, Innovations and Partnerships Specialist. Till next time.